You're tuned in to What a Baltimore Online Radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed are of the host and not of Lady J Media. Thank you and enjoy the show. Thank you for joining Mental Wellness Coaching with DWendell. Your session begins right now.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are we doing today? What a wonderful, wonderful day this is. And I like to begin by saying, regardless of what you may have heard, regardless of what cloud has come over your life this morning, this afternoon, regardless of all of that, you are still in a position of being blessed and of power. My name is DWendell Smith, and I am your mental wellness coach. We're getting a little bit of a late start today, and I apologize for that. Today, logistically, you may call me. My telephone number 240-626-6849. My email is heartmindconnection at icloud.com. I thank you for the support that has been rendered for this program, and I look forward to continued growth with you. Indeed, I look forward to your mental wellness state. It is on its way, it's attainable, and you're closer than you think you are. Okay, let's begin. Today, we are conversing about the crisis we are experiencing in our communities. The crisis, and it's a mental wellness crisis that we are experiencing. We're bombarded on every side with so many things that come into our lives, into our community. And these things almost come without permission. You don't give them permission to come, but they show up in your life. So we're talking today about the mental wellness crisis that we have. In every statistic, we are over African Americans are overrepresented in so many negative areas. We began to come up higher on the suicidal charts, um, among especially among men and African American men and teenagers. We have more attempts at attempting suicide, and we're starting to have more successes. And we wonder what, and especially among our teenage population, what is driving everything so much that we are overrepresented in these statistics. We take that a step further. We find that in the African American community, we have a particular aversion, as it were, to seeking help for some of our mental health challenges. I call them challenges because you are more than equipped. You are more than equipped. Understand, you are more than equipped to deal with any life situation that comes in your direction. You're more than equipped. Somewhere in the process of life, somewhere in the process of life, Someone has told you by word of mouth, by indication, by implication, that you're not prepared for these things. Now, understand, being prepared is not the same as being equipped to handle it. I am presenting to you today that you are equipped. You're equipped to handle any situation that comes up in your life. It's just a matter of which path you choose to follow. Um, for example, we have an aversion, as I said, to seeking mental health counseling. And what happens when you go to mental health counselors, you find, because you get frustrated with it, you find that the counselors, the therapists, are not helping you. The therapists are actually leading you more on a path of being dependent on them. They lead you on a path of a path of not resolving your issues, a path of keeping you stuck in the past. And most people, most of us, are tired of those past experiences. We can't find a way. We can't find a way to resolve them, and we can't find a way to escape them. So, so we're stuck in this vicious cycle, as it were, where you could be having a perfect day, and all of a sudden something comes to remind you of a situation you have dealt with or not adequately dealt with, but a situation you're dealing with or you are, it comes from your past, which causes phobias, anxiety, and fear. Let me, please allow me real quick to give you a definition, as it were, for anxiety that I have been working with. I have it written down. Hang on one moment, please. I have it written down. Thank you. Now, you're welcome to call in with any questions or comments you may have during the process of this time that we're spending together. I had it. Oh, here we are. Here we are. I apologize. Anxiety, specifically. Anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent situation or event or something with an uncertain outcome. You get anxious about the outcome of a particular thing, of a particular event. Maybe it's a meeting, maybe it's an interview, maybe it could be anything. And you find yourself getting anxious, and it's a feeling of worry and nervousness. Understand this, please. Feelings are not the facts. Feelings are feelings. Feelings has nothing to do with the fact. So when we operate off of feeling, I feel like this, I feel like that, then you're operating off of something that is baseless. It is baseless. We must learn to operate or decide to operate from the fact of a particular thing. What in this situation is causing you to be nervous? What is causing you to be fearful? Because understand, fear and nervousness uh, often fuel anxiety. And what does anxiety do? Anxiety leads to some form of mental imbalance because you get so anxious. What do you do with that feeling when it comes up? What do you do with it? Do you, some people drink, some people smoke, some people eat, society has a way of giving words to things. Comfort alcohol, comfort drinking. These things are baseless because what happens with that, what happens is you find the thing that you have been fearing, the thing that you have been anxious about, often does not come to pass. And when it does, if it does come to pass, the sting of it is not as bad as you anticipated it to be. So that's for anxiety. Then there's phobias, where we are fearful of things. Fearful. A I've defined that as a severe mental disorder in which thought and emotions are so impaired that content is lost with external reality. Understand? I'll say it again. Phobias, fears, are a severe mental disorder in which thought and emotions are so impaired that the context is lost with external reality. In other words, you're so fearful of a particular thing that you're not thinking straightly. You're not thinking in a balanced way. So your thoughts are so impaired that you lose touch with reality. You begin to go into this litany of what ifs and what. No, this is part of why between anxiety, which can lead to severe depression, and fear, um, we get so caught up in these things, in those emotions, that we become depressed. We become detached from what's going on. And when you detach yourself from a situation, then you leave yourself open to be controlled by that situation. Um, we must understand, and I'll say it again, I'll reiterate it. Feelings have nothing to do with the facts of what's going on in a particular situation. A feeling is a feeling, and where does the Bible says? When we look at the Bible says, and again, when I reference the Bible, I'm referencing your power source. Where is your power source? Where is your source of strength? Where's that thing in your life that keeps you balanced, that keeps you stable, that stabilizes you in a situation? Without that stabilization, then you are apt to go in either direction. That's not a good thing. That's not good at all. So understand, when you operate off of feeling, feeling is a false report. That's what a feeling is. It's a false report. Something, and what do you base your feelings on? Oh, I remember I based my feelings on somebody said something. Somebody told me something. Somebody said something, and I bought that instead of relying on my power. I keep tilting my head because I need to keep my head straight. Relying on your power source. Your power source is your source. Now, understand something. Not only is it the power source that we must rely on, there is a direct correlation. I'll say it again, a direct correlation between mental wellness and diet. Mental wellness and diet. Your brain, your brain is fed from what you eat. So your brain dictates to your body how to feel. Remember we said that it is the mind. It is the mind that dictates and controls the brain, and the brain carries out the orders to the body. Everything in life, everything we do begins with a thought first. If you decide to stand up from where you are, you have to think about it first and then you act on it. So everything that happens in your life, everything that you do begins as a thought. And the way the process works, your mind. Now, the way, how do we say your mind works? How is your mind fed? The mind is fed, the mind is fed through the five senses: seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and feeling. That's the only way that you get information into your mind. You see it, you feel it, you taste it, you hear it, you smell it. For a moment, you smell it. So, because it comes in through the five senses, one mind, one heart is about connecting the emotion, connecting the emotion, uh, connecting the heart and the emotion, connecting the feeling with the heart, so that it is all going in one direction. One direction. We've met people. We've been practicing for over 30 years, and we've met so many people that are so strong on going on feeling and emotion. I've talked to young people, and what one young people say in general is with regard to certain things, they cannot be disrespected. And I asked the question, what does it mean to be disrespected? And I don't get clear answers with regard to that. So the question remains: if the feeling is driving you, feelings change. Feelings ebb and flow depending on the situation. So if if your diet, this is just a nugget, and one of these times when we're on the video, we're going to talk about the connection between nutrition and mental wellness. The connection between nutrition and mental wellness. For example, I would give you an advisement to eat walnuts. Walnuts are brain food. Walnuts feed your brain. Broccoli, not broccoli, broccoli and cauliflower. Cauliflower is good for the brain. So we don't think about this. We don't think about the nutritional benefits of a healthy plate or a healthy meal per se. But again, one of these times we're going to talk about nutrition and mental wellness. How much what you eat contributes considerably to how you feel, how you think. Um, Brain food, as my mother used to say, brain food is so necessary. Um, Eating berries, berries is important. When we talk about that it is so important how you connect to your power source. Where does your power come from? Where does it come from? When things are not working, when your sight, uh, for example, uh, what you see, how do you interpret what you see? Had a Listen to a very extremely interesting message a few days ago, and the question, the theme of the message was, how do you hear? How do you hear? How do you interpret what you hear? Uh, what do you bounce it off of? Again, we must understand that there is a connection, a vital connection between what you eat and how you think, how you feel, especially how you feel. Because we are having, and I'm coming back to where we started, because we are having such a crisis in our communities, in our African American communities, we have a severe crisis, and coupled with the pandemic, coupled with so many other things, coupled with uh, the poverty level, coupled with everything, every category where we are overrepresented. We're overrepresented in the unemployment situation. We are overrepresented in the poverty situation. We are overrepresented with all of these diseases and conditions that come. And yet, with all our overrepresentation in all of these categories, we find that when it comes to mental wellness, we do not seek help. And why is it we don't seek help? We do not seek help, again, I've mentioned it before. We do not seek help because we've learned not to trust the system. We do not trust the system. Now, that brings up a very salient, important point. If and because we do not trust the system, where do we get help? Where do we get help? Um, we get help from our friends, we get help from our neighbors, we get help from so many sources that are not helpful. They're not helpful. They're not feeding us to the point of recovery. To the point of recovery. Again, I say, on the day you were born, on the day you were born, you were equipped with everything you would need to move you through life. Everything you would need. What has happened, for example, is that we have been educated out of the geniuses that we are. And I'll say that again. We have been educated out of the geniuses that you are. I'll give you a simple example. Very simple example. When you were born, instinctually, you learn to suck on the breast, on the nipple, breast nipple, or on the bottle. You instinctually did that. Genius. When you were born, as you were matriculating through life, you learned to walk. You learned to talk. There may have been people that help you with your enunciations as far as talking and things like that, but you learned to walk. Genius. You were born a genius. Let that resonate in your spirit for a moment. You were born a genius. You were born with the ability to learn to walk, with the ability to learn to talk, the ability to grow. You grew. And who does not have a child that they say he's a genius, he's simply a genius because of the things you learned to do, the things you developed. And somewhere along that path, somewhere along that gateway, somewhere along that travel, we were educated out of how genius we are. We were educated away from that and educated to learn to depend on the system. Now, when I want to do something, now when I want to start a business, when I want to be creative, now I go to another source, and they say we will teach you how to do X, Y, and Z. Understand you instinctually, you were born with the ability to not only overcome the different things that you're dealing with, but to conquer them. I found out, for example, that they have in the food industry. Now, this one amazed me. In the food industry, they have people who they've hired to create addictive foods. I mean, they sit there all day and they come up with foods which are just addictive. And we get so addicted. So when we get so addicted to them, and they are destroying our bodies. For example, give you an example. Um, uh, uh, w- there are different little nuances and things that we all grew up with. One of the things that was a habit for me in growing up, I would take peanuts, a bag of Planters salted peanuts. Can I say Planters? Planters salted peanuts, and I would dump the peanuts into either grape soda or Coca Cola and drink and enjoy that. There was nothing nutrition of any nutritional value in that peanuts, salted peanuts, grape soda, or whatever the case may have been. It was all destructive. We find ourselves, for example, how many of you like water? Just plain everyday water. Not many people like water because it's evident. Because most of us, when we go to the store or whatever, we will order a Sprite, a Coca Cola, a Pepsi, whatever the case may be. There is no value in that. So if we are loading our bodies with sugar, excess salt, and we're not exercising, we're not doing it, we're eating bad things that have no nutritional value. And then we try to think. Your brain has nothing to draw on to think. I'm just saying, because we are in the midst of a crisis, we are in the midst of a mental wellness crisis. You see it evident all across the board. We're overrepresented with drug usage. We're over, you know, the one of the drugs that's powerful now, I understand, on the street is fentanyl. And fentanyl, I understand, is man-made. Somebody with a high school diploma or less is somewhere mixing up some chemicals and putting it together and putting it out on the street, and people are taking it, ingesting it, and it's killing us. So the question becomes, what were we looking for when we did it? What were we looking for? One more example, and then we'll move on and probably and come to a close. Years ago, years ago, when I was a young man, a boy, in our neighborhoods, and maybe this is a bad example, but in our neighborhoods there were people who ran numbers. Stay with me, please. They ran numbers, And these numbers runners would there were dream books. People had different ways of coming up with numbers. And they will play the numbers and get paid out, whatever. Well, someone came out, some brilliant force, whatever, came out and said their number running is wrong. You can't run. You can't do that. Okay, I understand. Yet they come out with the lottery. They come out with the lotto, and you can buy tickets. Still numbers running, but there's another source that controls it now. So we have to go to them, whoever the them are. We'll talk about that one day. We have to go to them now for these numbers. That's the way it happened. That's the way it happened. Give you another example. Coming along in the African American neighborhoods and communities, we finally got to a point where we could buy houses and things like buy houses and all of this sort of thing. As time moved on, the black neighborhoods, the African American neighborhoods are fading. And what is going on, uh, other persuasions of people are moving into our neighborhoods. They're buying low and moving and taking over our neighborhood. And the prices of the houses are double. Gentrification. How did that happen? Years back, we used to have in our communities, I'll say this and we'll move forward. In our communities, do you remember the corner grocery stores? They weren't grocery stores, they were actually mom and pop stores, corner stores. We could go down to that store, which was in our neighborhood. It was in walking distance. In our neighborhood, we would walk up to the grocery store and we would say, especially in the South, we would say, Mama said or Grandmama said, we want a pound of sugar and put it on her bill. We walk out with the pound of sugar, take it back home, whatever the case may have been. We could get whatever we wanted. Well, somehow they found a way, there's the they and them again. They found a way to shut down our corner stores. Our corner stores, they are done away with, and now we have to go to Walmart. Uh, Now, again, we had people coming by with carts. You could buy, if I remember correctly, you could buy fresh vegetables because the cart man would come by. You could buy fresh vegetables. You could buy fruit. You could buy all manner of things. Everything was fresh right out of the garden. Excuse me. Now again, we have to go to Walmart. Again, I share with you that we have been educated out of the geniuses that we are, and we've been trained to become dependent upon a system. If you do some research, you will find that the entire food industry is controlled by four major outlets, and they control all the food supply. Four of them. Look at it. So they pay people not to grow this and not to grow that. Look. I was amazed a few years ago, and someone brought it to my attention. Um, we buy you can buy watermelons, and the watermelons have no seeds in them. There are no seeds because you used to could take the seeds out of the watermelon and save them, dry them out, and plant them the next year. Now these watermelons, they're whatever they are, but they don't have seeds in them. So where's the nutritional value in that? I'm not I am not knocking. Now you can buy seeds where you can replant, but that takes effort. That means you need to have a little garden in your backyard, or you can. I've seen people have little flower beds in their apartments, and they may grow tomatoes, cucumbers, or whatever the case may be. Again, we have become so dependent on outside sources for what we consider our resources, that we've been educated out of being the geniuses that we are. And what this has done, it has created a crisis, a major crisis in our communities, because that has created a situation where we don't trust each other. We generally do not trust each other. That's just the way it is. Um, can it get better? Absolutely, it can get better. We were talking, I was on a part of a panel the other day with Lady J, and we were discussing the use of the N word. We were discussing the use of the N word, how it became so across the board okay to just say whatever, use it whenever. I don't understand that. I'm not trying to change anything. I just don't understand it. And the long and short comes to, we have created in our own neighborhoods a vacuum, a vacuum that has created a crisis, a mental wellness crisis. We don't trust, we don't share, we don't seek help. We're off a little bit, we're loaded down with depression and anxiety and schizophrenia and various other, loaded down with it, to the point of where we, and I'm not knocking medication. If you're on medication, take your medication indeed. Take your medication. Continue to take your medication. But we're loaded down with where we depend on medication to rectify a symptom that we have. This symptom is, back in the day, we your grandmother, your mother, there were various ways of treating things. And because we're eating, I had a friend, Kenneth Peters. He used to say that we're eating devitamized food. The food we're eating that God had intended to nurture and feed and nourish the body, they've taken, there's the they again, it's the vitamins, the nutrients in the food has been taken out of the food. So we're eating, notice this, real briefly, notice this. After you eat, do you get hungry again real quick? Think about it. Not real quick, but you get hungry again. The food did not nourish you. That's why you're hungry again. The food does not nourish you because they've taken the vitamins, the nutrients out of the food, and we're just eating a plate or something. A plate or something. We don't exercise. Young people spend more time on the computers and various other means. And remember, I shared earlier, and we're coming to a close, that suicide rates are up among African American youth. They are up. African American men, African American youth, with going along with mass incarceration, people, we killing each other. Yes, there is a crisis. There's a serious crisis in our community. Examine, just as a tidbit, and we're going to talk more about it in future shows. Look at your diet. Look at what you're eating. Consider eating more wholesome food, more berries, and citrus fruits. Consider drinking more water, regular water. Understand, regular water. I know you like sparkling water, and people love Gatorade and what is 5 Hour Energy. All of that stuff is only tearing you down. It's breaking you down. It's not giving your brain anything to feed off of. Look at your diet. Consider your diet. Eat more fruit. Eat more fruit. Eat more walnuts, and vegetables. Eat more vegetables. Simple things: cauliflower, broccoli, um, things like that. Um, Take some of the sugar, especially sugar. My goodness, my Lord. Look at the sugar. There's sugar in everything. Everything we eat is loaded with sugar to some degree. Um, one of the cereals I disliked terribly when I was growing up. I could not eat it. It was shredded wheat. Forgive me for shredded wheat love you shredded wheat lovers. Bless you. I could not do shredded wheat. Turns out shredded wheat is actually one of the best cereals we could have eaten. Take out the dairy. Now, even I'm not going to go on and on about that, but do some research. You are a genius. You were born with genius genes. You were born a genius. It's been educated out of you. And when it gets educated out of us, we become dependent on the system, dependent, dependent on somebody telling us what to do and how to do it. That's the program for today. I'm your mental wellness coach. You can reach me at 240-626-6849. Email heartmindconnection at icloud.com. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Remember, you are a genius. Have a good one, guys. Talk to you next week. Thank you. Seems I have a little more time. Um, Next week, I'm going to talk about a toolkit. A toolkit. As part of the One Mind, One Heart wellness program, we introduced a toolkit. And just to give you a little bit of a heads up on that, a little bit, I would like for you to write them down, please. 5 incredible things about you. 5 incredible things about you. 5 gifts that you have been given. 5. Write them down. And maybe next week when I introduce it, we can talk more about it. Okay, thank you guys. Just introduce that real quick since we had a little more time. Thank you. Have a good one, guys.